In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a candle in a box mock-up using Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Dimension. It's a great way for you to showcase your packaging designs in a new, fresh, unique way where you're not using all those free downloads, the same old everyone else is using. You're creating your own custom mock-ups using software that you probably already pay for. Alright, so I'm starting out with a new Illustrator document. I have a few layers here. The first one is my reference layer. That's where I've placed this reference image of the candle in the box that I'm going to be replicating. I have another one that's my art layer here that I have some design elements on that I will be placing onto my 3D objects that I will be creating. And then I have a 3D layer that I'm going to be creating all my 3D objects on. Alright, so I'm going to start with the candle first, and I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to draw a rectangle around the candle. It's at an angle, so I'm going to have to be a little creative, or just guess a little bit with the dimensions, but we got this. We can do it. Alright, so I drew a rectangle around my shape, and I put a guide in the center so that I can keep everything symmetrical. I'm going to use my scissors tool to snip in the center and then delete the left line because we just don't need it. So next I'm going to curve in the base of the candle a little bit. I want to replicate what we have going on here with this really thick base, and then you can see this translucency. So I'm actually going to use my pen tool and draw a base that lines up here. And then this anchor point that's over there, I'm going to drag to meet up with the edge here. Selecting both my paths and then hitting Command J will unify that together. And now that allows me to select these 2 points and treat them like it's all one shape, curving that in. And then I also will add a little bit of a curve inside here. Let's go over to our 3D and materials panel, and this is where we can click on revolve, and there you go. That's the glass container for the candle. I'm going to hide that for a minute so that I can create the inside soy wax candle part. So I'm just going to duplicate, doing Option arrow, duplicate the inside of, or duplicate the shape that we just made. And then I'm going to snip, so I'm going to come down to maybe right there. I'm going to use my scissors tool and snip away at that path, and then snip there as well. So now I can delete that outside shape, and it leaves me with this inside one that I just need to connect back to our center point as such. And then if I wanted to add a little bit of an organic kind of wave, because not all candles when they're poured are exactly flat, so I'm going to make a little bit of a divot closer to the center where the wick is going to go. So I want to keep it straight, but just give it the slightest little wiggle here. Okay, because since we copied that object with the 3D materials, now we can flip it and see. I might want to add a little bit more of a wiggle. But I want it to be pretty natural. And then I also think I'm going to curve that in a little bit. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so we have the wax. We have the outside container part. Now we need to create the wick to go in the center. So I'm just going to select my pencil tool. And I'm going to trace it. I'm going to just do this weird kind of blobby wick shape. And then fill it in. Under 3D and materials, I'm going to choose the inflate option. And I'm going to say inflate both sides. Now it's really important that you come down to the rotation and you rotate it around because, ooh, it made it real thick. So I'm going to choose for the depth 0.01 inches. See what it gives me there. I'm going to bring down the volume to about 70%. So yeah, now when we rotate it, we can see that we have the wick shape, and we can add some materials like a woven texture when we get into Dimension that'll help it look more convincing. but that is the starting point for our wick. And we can even make it a little bit longer so that it can be submerged inside of the wax. I might just nudge it. Yeah, that gives us a little more to work with. Awesome, now it's time to work on the box. So I want to make sure that I'm creating a box that the candle could fit inside if I wanted to make one of those arrangements or one of those scenes later. So I'm actually going to come back to our guide here, and I'm going to draw a box that extends outside of the candle, just making sure that it would fit, but not like so snugly that it wouldn't give us any room, right? So I think I'm liking those dimensions there. And then up in this shape panel, you can see what the width and the height is. So we're just about at 2 inches. I think I just might make it an even 2 inches. That way when I go to 3D materials and I click on extrude, I can add the depth here as 2 inches, and that makes it, since the candle's round, the box is going to be the same depth, width. So that's important. And I'm going to go ahead and fill the box in. But you can also see that the lid, like it's a really thick paper, and so it has this like loop over top. So if I wanted to recreate that a little bit better, instead of just having a solid box, I can come back, I can make the stroke 2 points for this point, and then I can make a copy of it, turn off 3D and materials for a minute, and snip at the diagonal corners here. So I just have this one line, and I'll make it black so we can see a little bit better. So what I'll do now is recreate that curve, because this is like looking at the box on the side. So now I'm going to move the anchor point up just a few points and then make it slightly curved. And so now when I come back to 3D materials and we turn on extrude, we can see that it is creating that top curved piece. And the depth is 2 inches, so if I rotate this around, it should be lined up really well when we put it all together in Dimension. But first we need to export all of our pieces. So I'm going to go ahead, turn on 3D materials for the candle shapes that we made, and I'm going to highlight all of those 3D pieces, right click, collect for export, select add multiple assets. And then you'll see that we have the box lid, we have the box itself, we have the wick, candle wax, and candle glass. And with all of this highlighted, choose OBJ from the panel below and then export those. Now also, I want to export all my graphics too, so that I have those when I can place them in. Going back to my layers, I'm going to unlock my art layer, and I'm going to group these together. So I'm definitely going to want those together. This might change, and then I have my logo, so I can highlight all of those, export those as multiple assets, and if they're grouped together, it will group those as well. So this will be candle title, candle description, and this is my logo icon that I'll add to like maybe the top or the side, but I just wanted that brand option. And I'm going to export those as high res, like at4x PNGs. And now we're ready to move to Dimension. Or once you have a new canvas in Dimension, I always come to zoom and I click on 100%. That shows me that I need to increase the size of my canvas so that I have a high res rendering in the end. So I also choose 300 for the resolution. And then I just get set up so that I have the settings that I want for when I start dragging in my pieces. So I'm going to start with the candle glass, just dragging and dropping the OBJ files in. And using this button, I can click and place it on the plane. And I'm just going to get everything situated before I start applying any sort of materials or lighting. I just want to make sure that we get everything in place. The materials might help with the candle, and I'll have to make some more tweaks in a minute, but I'm just going to start bringing everything in And then selecting both of these, I can come to the Align panel and I can at least center those. Like I said, with the base and the glass, we might have to do some tweaking, but I think this puts us in a pretty good spot. Same with the wick, I can drag that in, move it a little bit higher so when I center these, it doesn't get lost inside of these other objects. But if I select all of those, come back and center, then I can zoom in and place the wick inside of the candle. Wonderful. Now it's time to bring in the box. So box, gonna place that down. And for now, like I do want it at an angle like the example, but for now I'm going to keep everything kind of square because all of my tools are helpful for that. So box lid, we're gonna drop that in. Move that to the base, rotate it around 90 degrees. And then this is box lid, this is box. Same thing, we're going to come to the Align panel and then center, but also using Align Max Z, we can line those up so that they touch and then tweak from here. So you can see that the overlap isn't quite getting the effect that we need, so I'm going to move that up a little bit. And sometimes if these tools are being a little finicky, which they can be, like it's kind of sticking, in the position panel here, this is the y-axis, so instead of 0.2 I can type in 0.1 and that gets closer to the effect that we were going for. And then same with the x-axis, I can say 14, oop, wrong way, right? Let's see, 0.1 for that direction, and see now it's looped just a little bit enough, but I think that I need to scale the height so that it matches at the bottom a little bit better. Yeah, I do. So I'm going to select the lid again, and for the size, for the y-axis, I'm going to say 6.67 centimeters, and that'll allow me to bring it down to the base and give us that crossover with that thicker look that we're going for. And then if I also come back to the box and the lid, let's try centering those again. Okay, so if I click on the box, what is it telling me for the X is 5.15 and this is 5.12. So I'm going to choose 5.15 for the box lid. And then I'm just making some minor tweaks here so that everything is fitting in. I just want to make sure that these edges are lined up really perfectly, really exactly. There we go. That's looking good. That's the angle that we'll be seeing in a minute. So now that I have the box and the box lid, I'm going to go to this folder, create a grouping for them. So this will be the box, and then do the same for the candle. We'll make a grouping for that one so we can move these around while everything within the object stays put, but the objects themselves move all together. So now I want to create a camera bookmark. So this was our front, right? This is where we were kind of staging everything. And I'm going to center the candle right about there. I want to raise it up just a little bit so you can see more of the wax and the wick. And then with the box, I'm going to rotate it around so it's at that angle that we had in the sample, and then move it closer to the candle, right about there. Okay, now let's start applying some materials. I'm going to start with the wax for the candle. There's a material called wax, and I'll just drag and drop that onto the wax. And then if I go back to my Illustrator file, I have my brand colors here, and I want that wax to be the cream color that I use in my brand. So I will we'll just drop that in. So now that I have the wax, let's preview what that's looking like. It's still looking a little dark, so let's see what we can change as far as the roughness or index of refraction. We can also choose some like density settings. So let's tweak some stuff. Let's see, a higher index of refraction. The roughness we can tweak. And a lot of this can also be changed with the lighting as well. All right, and now let's apply the glass to the glass. And this is where we can rotate and see where we're at. So we actually have the wax a little bit higher than where the inset is for the glass. So I'm just going to manually move it down until we hit that point. And then I'll also need to bring the wick down too, right? So, oop, and I did not even create my camera bookmark like I said. So now let's do that. Now that I have it positioned, camera bookmark, plus sign. This will be our front view. Let's see what we're looking like. I don't know that I want it amber like the example. I think that clear is better for my brand, but I do like a frosted candle. So I'm going to come back to our glass setting. And I'm going to adjust the roughness. So I'm going to set the roughness to maybe like 35%. Let's see how that looks. Very interesting. I'm going to have to tweak the wax still to get that to look like it's a solid candle. So translucence, I'm going to turn that up to 100. And again, just tweaking with the colors to make the color that I want. Oh wait, translucence actually needs to be like 20%. That's right. There we go. Then it's a little more solid. Love it. Okay. All right, which texture looks the most like a woven wick? Let's try this 3D printed one just to get a little crazy. Let's see how that's looking. Hard to say, hard to say. So let's zoom in. Oh, I actually kind of like that. So we won't be super close to it, but pattern size. Maybe could bring that up or down. Could tile it. Ooh, yeah, if we tile it to like 5, then that really gives us that wick effect. Ooh, I love it. Yay. All right, back to the front. And then with the box, I think I like it how it is. I mean, you can add whatever customization that you want. You can make it glossy, you could make it metallic, but I think I'm just going to keep it the default color or the default material, but I'll change the color to be my brand cream color that's already in my, excuse my ambulance. I'm going to change the color of the lid and the box to be my brand cream. So now I can drag and drop my graphics onto it. So I already have them saved over here. Just going to drag candle. I'll shrink it down a little bit. I don't need it like so in everybody's face about what it is. Candle description. That I will put down here. Alright, now I'm going to put the logo on the top of the box. Let's see how this looks. So cute. I love a little logo pop on the top. And then I'm going to add the same details to the front. And again, this is the time to make it your own. Let your designs shine. This is your canvas now, and you can have as many renderings from this as you want. Like you could have so many different angles. You could have the candle inside the box, outside the box. You could have the candle like floating. I don't know about fire. I haven't experimented with like lighting a candle, but all of those are definitely options. Let's see, I think I like it centered like that. And let's see where we're at with the lighting. I know I'm gonna have to bring down the global intensity a little bit, and I love my 3-point light, but let's just see what we're starting with. It's a pretty good start. I'm gonna scroll down to 3-point light and just drag that over my scene. And I like when the backlight is truly backlighting it as such. I might bring the height up a little bit and just tweak my lighting until it's what I want. Key light, where are you? Here we go. Ooh, it's looking so good. The other thing about the shadows is that I don't love when they're super dark, so I'll come to the Environment tab and I'll turn the shadow opacity to about 50% always. And with my background, choosing my cream color, let's see how it's looking. So cute so far. It still feels a little bright on the edges, so I'm going to adjust which light would be doing that? I think it's the key light. I'll bring down the key light just a little bit so the highlights aren't blown out. And then I don't love how dark the candle glass is getting, so I want to adjust that. I want to go back to the glass settings, and I want to choose, I think it's index of refraction, and let me bring that down just to see if that's the right move. Okay, no, I think I have to go the opposite way. I think let me try it at like 2. Okay, and maybe let me try the roughness up to like 50%. And then sometimes if it's still dark like this, I add like a 1 or 2% glow. Just helps brighten it just like a little bit. 2% I think is too much. I want to do 1% glow. I'll also bring the translucence to like 96% instead of 100. Yeah, I think that's better. And then I can also bring the lighting up a little bit on the fill. I can just rotate that slightly so it's more on the candle than on the box. And then the overall environment light, I will bring down the intensity slightly because that box is still just so highlighted. So yeah, once you get your light settings the way that you like them, then we go over to the render panel where you can choose your camera bookmarks here in the settings. You can choose where you want to export your file to, and I choose PSD because I like to have a transparent PNG sometimes. So PSD will allow you to remove the backgrounds if you need it, and then you click render and let the magic happen. Alright designers, this wraps up this tutorial. I hope you love this candle mock-up and utilize it. Let me know what videos you want to see next in the comments below, and if you like this content, please subscribe. Alright, until next time designers.